Chapter 19. Secrets Slip. Sunlight sparkled as it reflected off the endless sea of white death surrounding Jake and Shepard. Just beyond the transparent barrier creating the facility, temperatures dropped to 20 degrees, and Jake knew even with Horyu-G suits, they would succumb to exposure. Nevertheless, the beauty of the landscape drew one to it, as countless number of dead can no longer contest. Jake, however, was not a fan of the cold. "Is there anything on the screen for temperature control?" Looking around the area at tons of ice that nearly ended their journey to Antarctica, Shepard replied, "It appears to have already been activated, sir." Her mind was elsewhere, though, still a little bothered by thoughts of when Jake used his body to protect her from danger. Telling herself Jake's actions were reactions to extensive training didn't help while staring at the way his skin-tight suit embraced his perfectly formed body. Shepard did her best to contribute her feeling to working underground with a reptile for months on end. Moving his attention from the pure white killer outside to the area around him, Jake noticed the fallen ice quickly melting at his feet. "Good job, Shepard. I wonder where all the water is going." "I'll check, sir," she responded, jumping at a chance to use the holographic screen. "Oh, no need, it's not important. See what you can find out about this place. There doesn't seem to be much here. I always wondered where they slept, or if they do." Jake directed her while walking around the Nazi outpost. As he spoke, ice melted away, revealing empty crates and others with electronics from the early 1900s. "Sir!" Shepard screeched. Instinctively, Jake spun around from where crates were being revealed as ice melted and began moving quickly to investigate the cause of such a horrific scream. From left to right, high and low, everything was scrutinized with no threat to be seen. Closing the distance between Shepard and himself, Jake spotted where Shepard was staring. Alongside an old wooden crate with an eagle and swastika painted in black on one side lay a German SS officer with a pistol gripped in his right hand. That is why you screamed? I know you had to have seen dead bodies before," Jake asked. "But sir, he moved," Shepard said, not believing what she had seen. As absurd as it sounded, Jake was not about to dismiss anything in the world he had come to know. He slowly walked over, keeping an eye on the pistol in the officer's hand. With only feet left between him and the SS officer, Jake's heart took a slight pause as he too saw movement. Then he saw what was actually happening as water streamed from underneath the body. "It's just ice melting," he said, looking back to Shepard, who had also came to the same conclusion. They smiled at each other a bit sheepishly, embarrassed that both their hearts still beat faster and harder than normal. Fascinated by the dead man, Jake investigated the corpse a little closer. "I think this Luger may still work." Jake picked up the officer's pistol and secured it in his pack before moving on to the crate beside the officer. After looking over the wooden crate, Jake drew his K-bar and carefully beat it with his palm underneath the lid. Cautious not to break his knife, Jake repeated the action in several areas, with each freeing little sections of the lid till there was enough room to slide his finger underneath. With many creaking nails doing their best to hold the lid in place, Jake pulled up with both hands till they all seemed to give up the fight at once. With the knife still in his hand, Jake used it to move straw-like material around while ice melted away inside. Probably more antique electronics, he thought, using his knife to uncover a piece of metal. "Looks like this is where they found the help they had," Jake informed Shepard, examining metal covered with the writing found in Bakla's chamber on the moon station. Packed inside was also a number of fragments from other devices. "We need to take this crate back with us." Looks like Kolak's theory of everything being crushed and scattered by the ice was also correct. "I wouldn't be too sure about that, sir," Shepard said in a monotone voice, with the majority of her focus on navigating through the endless information available at her fingertips. No longer finding anything worth investigating in the facility, Jake walked back over to Shepard after hearing her cryptic statement. "What do you have? And Jake is fine. You're not one of my soldiers." Flustered by him telling her to call him by his first name, Shepard's heart picked up its already rapid pace. Doing her best to hide her emotions, she continued, "Well, Jake, If I am reading this correctly, there is a hangar up in the mountain range southwest of here. It may still be operational. After all, we didn't expect this place to be here. While speaking, she heard the emotion in her voice over calling him by his first name, but hoped he hadn't. Try not to get too excited about it. A great deal can happen over a few days, much less 12,000 years. What we have to do now is get a team in here to go through everything and make this place operational. Then we can start sending teams out to investigate. We have been very fortunate up till now, but we are not going to find some super tech that will alleviate all our problems. Relieved that he took her excitement to be in regards to the information she revealed, Shepard let out a small sigh. Before we go, there was one last thing that kept flashing on every screen that I want to check out. Make it quick while I radio this in now that we're not under 100 feet of ice. Should only be a minute, she informed him without slowing down her research. Retrieving the radio, Jake pressed all the same buttons as before and then pressed the mic. "They're on base. This is Advancer 1. Come in." Unlike the last attempt, there was a reply just after a few seconds. "Advancer 1, this is They're on base. Read you Lima Charlie," said the voice from the radio, meaning loud and clear. "They're on base. This is Advancer 1. I need transport at location. 66 degrees, 33 minutes, 12.33 seconds south, 99 degrees, 50 minutes, 20.37 seconds east. How you copy? Over?" Jake relayed the coordinates from his HDC Global Positioning Unit. "Advancer 1, this is They're on base. 66 degrees, 33 minutes, 12.33 seconds south, 99 degrees, 50 minutes, 20.37 seconds east. Over. They're on base. That's a good copy. We will be waiting your arrival. Advancer 1, out." Happy with the clear communication, Jake placed the equipment back in his pack. "Still amazes me. It will take them longer to go the 10 miles between us than it did traveling here from Florida." "Holy shit!" Shepard called out in surprise. Standing up while shaking his head, Jake turned to let Shepard know she had to stop with the screaming till he saw what she did. "Holy shit indeed! What did you do?" Before them was a display filling the room with a Norcox looking down on them. "Is this live? Can they see us?" Jake asked, feeling all that they had discovered being stripped away. Still amazed by how large and real the image appeared, Shepard replied, "No, sir, it's an archived message." The two of them watched as it played, translated to English. "I am Voss, the High Chair of the Norcox Alliance. The actions taken are for the survival of our race and to prevent the destruction of the Alliance by the Hoganlow. Those on the worlds we have destroyed only brought wars due to the addictive nature of not just their protein and insulin, but the other chemicals derived from these abominations. These worlds became aggressive and began conquest of other peaceful civilizations due to the enzymes generated. So it has been determined that the Hoganlow must never be allowed to survive. Please note, the Hoganlow must not be allowed to exist. Those who survive the pulsar must be eliminated, allowing not one to venture beyond the planets they are now on. My fellow citizens, one day you will reach our time, and if this message is not followed, our race is doomed." A second after the High Chair said, "Doomed," he vanished from their sight. "What the hell was that, Jake?" Shepard asked. "From what I gathered, the future Norcox wanted us destroyed and didn't care if they took out their own doing it," Jake replied, still playing the message over in his mind. "Oh, I got that. I'm talking about the part where they talk about using us like a drug." Jake looked to Shepard with sad eyes and spoke with a soft tone. "Even in the HDC there are secrets, and this is the one that only a few know. It is only a secret because it would only serve to spread panic and fear. I can't believe this. Here I am, part of a secret organization to save the world, and I am still being lied to. It doesn't matter if it spreads panic and fear. That should be our choice. I knew the Zoetarians harvested humans, but this is on a much greater level." Shepard couldn't keep herself from looking around for a trio craft after speaking the Zoetarian name so loudly. "You really didn't take notice at how overweight the population has become and ask yourself why?" Jake asked, losing the soft-spoken tone in favor of the strong one he was known for. "I did take notice, but didn't take time to research why," Shepard said, calming down just a little. Jake decided to let her in on the secret entirely now. "Okay, here it is. The galaxy uses our protein and insulin as a drug. The Norcoks are the dealers, and just like we do to cattle, they use sugar in our food supply to fatten us up. It works great." As of just last year, 70.7% of Americans were either overweight or obese. They then use TV to make everyone think it is healthy. You know why people get so many vaccinations, even though if you look at the statistics, many do more harm than good? I'll tell you, it makes us taste better to many different races. Near the end, he struggled to control his emotions and began feeling bad about raising his voice to the beautiful scientist who just found out they were a great drug of choice for the galaxy. Minutes passed in silence as the two of them stared at each other, and they most likely would have continued had it not been for his radio. From his backpack, a voice broadcasted, "Advancer 1, this is there on base, over." Quickly retrieving the radio, Jake responded, "There on base, this is Advancer 1, read you Lima Charlie, over." "Advancer, we have a Montgomery on the line. He says you would understand, over." Jake waited patiently to be connected to the call, every so often looking to Shepard, feeling guilty for raising his voice. "Hello? Hello?" Montgomery's voice came over the radio with a great deal of static. Pressing the mic, Jake began speaking. "I'm here. What do you have for me?" Jake always found it annoying speaking to someone on the phone when he had to use the mic button to speak. "I found what you wanted me to, sir," Montgomery stated without revealing more details than necessary. Knowing he needed to go back to the Bermuda base, Jake didn't want to leave Shepard by herself. "It better be good, Monty. I'll be there in a few hours. Advancer 1 out." He cut the transmission before Montgomery could say anything about the trip only taking an hour. He didn't want Shepard to be aware that he was staying out of guilt for how he spoke to her, or that he was attracted to her.